You ready? All right, folks. Welcome to the Edinburgh Plan Commission.
Quiet.
Let's get started. So, roll call. Bob Ackerman.
Here.
Ray Walton.
Here.
Stephanie Taylor.
Here.
Justin Lawler. He's not here. David Bond.
Here.
William Jones here. Ryan Percival. He's not here. Miriam Rook. She's not here. Keith Sells on here. First thing, we'll have the minutes from our May 20th meeting. Does someone like to make a motion to approve?
If there's no questions or comments, then I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second them.
Okay, motion is made to approve the minutes, and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next one is the sign-in sheet, and I guess I've never done with an attorney over the phone, but the sign-in sheet, you will need, if you're going to speak tonight, you'll need to be sworn in. So, for any of the cases tonight, if you're planning on saying anything at all, you must be sworn in. So, you want to raise your right hand. That's when I'll just go ahead and do it, I guess.
Yeah, so when you come up to the podium tonight, state your name and your address. And so for those of you that are signing or going to speak tonight, do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that you will say the truth tonight, all truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. Sorry, I haven't done that for a while.
And they need to sign in, did you say?
And then if you would sign in, it will help our secretary greatly when she does the minutes. Thank you.
All right, the first,
I just have 2 sign-in sheets. I always bring 2.
Julie, excuse me, since there's so many people raise their hands, do you want to just pass them out each side?
Yep, we can do
Otherwise,
that.
to save time.
okay, the
Thanks, Chief.
first case tonight is PC 2025-08 HCOD B&R Empire LLC, and we've requested a continuance on that, and he's agreed. So,
Judy, is there anything you need to say, Julie?
No,
Okay.
this case
Then I'll
is
make
ready.
a motion to continue PC 2025-08 HCOD to the August 19th Plan Commission meeting without notification.
okay, we have a motion to continue this first case. Properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All righty, the second one is PC 2025-10 HCOD Jeff Donofrio. And that's, Julie, if you'll read that case for us.
Yes, sir. So this case is here before you tonight because it is in the Highway Corridor District. The address 7778 East State Road 252. This is a request for a privacy fence and a chain link fence at this property. The only reason it is here before you tonight is because it's within the corridor district. So Mr. Donofrio has already constructed this, and then We realized that he was within that corridor, so now he's before you tonight asking for permission or forgiveness to have this fence, if you will. This is a 3.7 acre parcel surrounded by residential properties and one business property. So, as I mentioned, it is here before you because it's in the corridor. He did satisfy all of our legal and notification requests as required by the Plan Commission. He provided us with a site plan of what he has requested for his property. And I'm going to allow him to speak to what you have constructed and what you would like the Plan Commission to approve.
Jeff Donofrio, 7778 East State Road 252. So originally I called in December and spoke with Robert and asked if I needed a permit or anything to put up a privacy fence or a fence, and I was advised no. So in January, I proceeded with the privacy fence. Well, like the front of it's privacy fence, the back of it's chain link. And then a few months later, I was told that it's within this corridor and I needed to come to the city to have it approved. I don't know if you need more details. Like I said, that, as you can see on the little drawing there from the house, the front, it comes out a little bit, goes around as privacy fence, and on the back, it's just black chain link. Pretty basic. You know, we have dogs and don't want them getting out.
Anybody got any questions from the board? Okay.
Public hearing. Anyone that wants to speak?
Yeah, want to speak for or against? I guess against now. Anybody here tonight wants to speak against this petition? If not, I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion based on the approval of the Edinburgh Plan Department that we approve this with the staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Now we get on to the big one, I guess.
That is correct. So the next case we have tonight is 2025-11 RZ. This is the Unified Development Ordinance. And the town did advertise for this public hearing tonight. We advertised in the 3 newspapers since we are in 3 counties. We do have the consultant here tonight to make a presentation and answer any questions that the board or the public may have. As this will be a public hearing, I'll let our attorney set up the ground rules after we hear from the consultant with the presentation.
Okay. You guys standing up, there's some empty seats up here. You come up and have a seat.
Okay. Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. My name is Brian Stump. I'm with the Community Development Studio Lead for HWC Engineering. We have the wonderful pleasure of helping the town update its Unified Development Ordinance. That's a combination of the zoning and subdivision control ordinance. So when in working through this process, we had a steering committee of various folks and stakeholders in the community, as well as members from the Plan Commission and Council that were involved. In going through this process, one of the things was, well, why are we updating our code? Your current code, it's got a little bit of age on it. It's a little outdated, and there are parts of it that are keeping Edinburgh from having the type of development that it's seeking, and it's lacking protections against bad development and being able to say no to things that you may not want. And then one of the key elements is it's difficult to administer and enforce. We have conflicting requirements in the ordinance, as well as some processes that can be a little bit burdensome. And so we want to make sure that the code is updated and works well. So as I mentioned, this is a Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO, and it combines the town zoning ordinance and the town subdivision control ordinance into one document. So rather than having to jump back and forth between the two different documents, this is a document that puts it all together in an intuitive manner. So the question is, what does the UDO do? And it regulates to the norm. We're looking at identifying and updating the uses that happen in the community in your current zoning ordinance. How do we bring those up to current standards? How do we reflect the changes that have happened in state law? And making sure that it's easy to use. In creating this document, navigation is key and being able to find what you're looking for, so information isn't in several different spots. It's really grouped together in a way that's able to be found. We also got rid of the plannerese and legalese and jargon and try to keep this as just plain English. And then clarifying the different standards with graphics and tables. Now, some things to note what the UDO will not do. It's not the planning policy document. So as far as like, oh, what should happen here? That's your comprehensive plan. The UDO is simply, zoning is simply one of the tools that the town uses to work towards that vision. It's also not going to accommodate every single situation, but we also plan for that, knowing that things are going to happen in the future that we don't know what's going to happen, but we at least have a process or ways for Julie to determine what happens. It's not going to prevent all nonconformities. Part of this process is updating the zoning map. We're looking to put all the existing uses where they belong in the district so that they're legal and comply with the rules. It's also not going to eliminate the need for every variance. Sometimes things happen or there are certain conditions on a site, and so the variance process is still there. And then the other thing is it doesn't or cannot regulate things that the town's not allowed to regulate. We're working with some communities like, oh, well, can you do this? The answer is no, we can't do that. State law doesn't allow it. So there's certain things that the UDO cannot do. As I mentioned earlier, making sure this is as easy to use as possible. We believe very strongly in that. At the beginning of the document is a user guide. It's about 5 or 6 pages that identifies what the UDO is, how to use it, gives an overview of the ordinance itself. So this is just kind of a guidebook and a great place to start to show how to use the ordinance and where you can find those elements, as well as having explain where the process is. So some of the key elements of the UDO are the different zoning districts, and these are based off of looking at the current growth patterns, the current development patterns within the town, as well as future growth and things that may come your way. And so we've created this list of different zoning districts. Each has their permitted uses and standards, and allows them to really keep the elements that provide the town its character. There are 2 types of zoning districts. You've got a base zoning district, those would be your commercial districts, residential districts, things of that nature, and then also overlays, like the highway corridor overlay is an example of a district that lays on top of other districts that might cover different terrains or different zoning districts. On the base districts, we have grouped those by the type of district. So the residential districts are all together, the commercial districts are all together. So it makes it easier to use and see that information all in one spot. So you see here on the screen, this is showing the business districts and essentially your B1, B2, B3, which are essentially your neighborhood business, general business, and then highway business. All have different uses in those different districts, but you can see the development standards that are there. So you're not flipping through at the ordinance trying to find that information. Here's sort of zooming in into how each of the district development standards are set up with the lot size requirements, and then how you place the building on the site, and then any building requirements as far as how tall the building is or how much of the lot that it can cover. So many of these things are very similar to what you're doing today. One thing that is a little different I want to draw your attention to, when it comes to the residential districts, rather than regulate by lot size, saying a lot has to be 8,000 square feet or whatever that number may be, we use density. We essentially use that equivalent density as the measure. And so in this case here, we've got a 10-acre site. And if the density would allow 17 homes on that 10 acres, if you regulate by lot size, which we see in the middle, it often forces larger lots, pushes you into the trees, you lose some of the things that provide that character. This ordinance, by regulating by density, but still having lot size requirements, but smaller than what would be in the middle, gives you flexibility in the layout, so you're able to keep the existing trees and choose a layout or do a design that fits better. Same number of homes, just gives you more flexibility in how they are placed on the lot. In the third chapter is the permitted use table. So we have the different uses that are in throughout the town, kind of grouped by major types, so residential uses, commercial uses, and so forth. And then the colors you see, the columns that you see are the different zoning districts. And so if it's a P, it's permitted in that district. If it's an S, it requires special exception approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Those are for uses that would be likely fit in with that district, but there may be certain requirements that you want to pay attention to or be cautious of. I always point to churches tend to have that special use because there's all the difference between a neighborhood church and a mega church and the impacts they have on the neighborhood around them. And one of the things that we do, we also, in the far right column, we put the parking standards on the permitted use table. So every use has a clear parking standard. That's one of the things we often see get missed in ordinances. You'll have uses, but then there's no corresponding parking requirement. So that is, that's here on the permitted use table. One of the things that we've done in here, so the majority of a zoning ordinance or subdivision control ordinance focuses on future development. What's going to happen in the future? Something comes in, new subdivision or new business, something of that nature. The development of property. One of the things that we do have in here is we do have standards for property maintenance. And this affects current uses because one of the things that I've dealt with being a public planner is sometimes you have these nuisances, something's happening next door, it's noisy or things of that, or property is not being maintained. How does that get addressed? So often it's addressed tangentially with a weed ordinance here in the city code or something, but we've actually put this in the property maintenance section. So it deals with accumulations of trash on property, inoperable vehicles, things of that nature. One of the other elements we've done is that we have a little bit of a design review process. So in areas where you have an infill site or something happening in your downtown area, that there's just one element to look at some of the residential aspects of what is being proposed to make sure that it's harmonious with what's happening around it. We've all seen these buildings that look like they fell out of the sky and there was no attention paid to the neighbors or that context. So these design review elements kick in when you're, like I say, either downtown or you're developing on a site that has existing homes around it. Again, going for cohesiveness in the community. We've also clarified the process of what happens or how you go through getting approvals, depending what type of approval is necessary. So really the easy way that this breaks down is first is that use permitted in that zoning district? If not, what needs to be done? Second, are the property lines good? Or if it's a subdivision, you're creating new lots, how do you create those? And finally, anything related to the site and those elements in the approval process for that. And then finally is the enforcement standards. Several years ago, the state of Indiana opened up a variety of tools in state law for enforcement of ordinances. Your ordinance is much like many that we deal with, where the only thing you can do is essentially sue somebody. This ordinance uses the different elements, including like a citation process, and just kind of clarifies the town's powers for a stop work on a construction site, things of that nature. And so those are here identified in the ordinance in that section. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does the board have any questions?
Okay.
Julie, you want to?
So, we will have a public hearing tonight, and as is typical for public hearings, we will allot equal time for the groups that are speaking for this case and against this case. Our attorney usually has the rules in front of him, and I believe it's 20 minutes that we allot for each side. So I don't know how many people are here to speak either for or against this. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, which side would you like to hear from first?
Ones that's for it, I guess.
Okay,
That ought to get that out of the way pretty quick.
so yeah. So as a reminder, when you approach the podium, please state your name and address for the record. And we will have anyone that wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come up to the podium. As a reminder, 20 minutes total for those wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance. Thank you.
Not per person.
Not per person.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Christina Riley. I live at 701 South Holland Street here in Edinburgh. I am for this ordinance. It's one, I was part of the steering committee, so I got to have more questions possibly answered. So I know that there's going to be a lot of questions asked. I asked those questions as a resident. I asked those questions as somebody that works with businesses and understands small town and red tape and not wanting to go through that red tape of what it would take. I am fearful for our town that if we don't do something to update it, we are going to be swallowed up by other towns. And this gives us the opportunity to grow, to have a stakehold in what we need to do. And I know that the team has worked very hard to make sure that they listen to concerns and made sure that we weren't matching what bigger cities do, right? They stayed with what our town is. They understood that our town, we love our town and what we do and how we all come together. But we're outdated. We need to get updated. We need to do things to make our town stand out and have those opportunities for growth. So I am for this, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for the?
We can go ahead and adjourn. Oh.
You-
Good evening, Sarah Beth Drive, Red 106 Lincoln Street. Here wearing two hats, one as a citizen and one as an employee of the town here as Economic Development Director. So I know there was a lot of questions about why this is happening now, and I don't know that it's been addressed, that this is coming off the heels of the adoption of our comprehensive plan at the end of 2024. And we had over 400 residents, I think probably, who took the survey in here? Oh, no, okay, there's some people in the back. We had over 400 residents take the survey where we asked specifically about economic development, about downtown revitalization, about the Parks Department, about zoning, about ordinances. We had more people take that survey than voted in the last election for our council members. So I think that's a very important statistic. And something that came out of that, we had a lot of different focus groups. Many of you were involved in those. And I actually heard from people in Meadow Village that said, I wish we had an HOA because I'm tired of X, Y, Z. And so there are a lot of things that are in this ordinance that are just basic things to be updated. But there's also things that I wish that were in here that aren't in here. I mean, historical preservation for our downtown. I'm so frustrated, and I know a lot of us are tired of empty downtown storefronts that we have no ordinances for to help us to battle that. So One of the things though is that I think what many of us are trying to do is we care so much about this town, and I don't want to see it swallowed up by cheapness and bad zoning. So something that we've been looking a lot at is standards are the civic pride, and wanting the town to have standards that we can follow and adhere to that make this town better. And I know that is, some people think that this is just a huge HOA that is happening on the town, and that's not what this is. And so I hope that some of those questions can get addressed here this evening by our consultants and Julie, our city planner. So this is really about creating a better and thriving Edinburgh for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for? I think we got a few more minutes.
Hello, my name's Chris Lane. I'm 6650 South 800 East Edinburgh. Born and raised here. My dream is to fix town up just like Bargersville, Center Grove, and the rest of it. Born and raised here. My dream is to fix town up just like Bargersville, Center Grove, and the rest of them. But that comes with tax dollars. People in town are broke. They can't afford it. They can't even afford to get a violation for their yard being mowed. Now, with saying that, we got to find out ways to bring more money into this town. I've always suggested that we go and get a grant like Franklin did all at once, and let's redo all downtown all at once. Let's make them all wheelchair accessible like they want to, where these owners or these new Hispanics that's moving in can't afford it. They can't afford to bring the building up. Our buildings are falling down. When the train just rattled through, I guarantee it, I could go in the building uptown and show you mortar vibrating off the buildings. 30 years ago, the building on the corner here where the Hispanics just moved in, their little wiring machine, whatever it may be, I'm glad there's business there. I'm glad for them. But that building was redone by the town just like the senior citizen building was. Now, with saying that, all the buildings need redone because when you redo one, now my building looks bad. That's run down. It makes it look worse. So I would recommend let's get a grant for all the buildings and get with all the homeowners and everybody, and let's join it together as a team. Because at the end of the day, I've been fixing houses up since 2002. I've kind of had a monkey on my shoulder because I'm kind of split. I go buy a house that's run down, it should be condemned and tore down. I fix it up. Well, before I fix it up, they're charging me $1,800 on taxes. Well, then I fix it up and I sell it because I'm trying to bring in good citizens to the community to contribute to this that ain't renters. But then on the back half, the taxes get cut in half, so they're mad because they get a homestead exemption. And so that's where we're at. We're fighting with tax dollars of trying to get money to try to contribute to making town great. But here's the other thing. There's not enough of us here to support anything that goes downtown. I've been here all my life. There's only 3 businesses made it. A bar, a barber shop, and a bank. And there's no one who can disagree right there with that. 3 B's that's made it downtown: a bar, a bank, and the barber shop. So that's it. That's all I can say. And I've been here all my life to experience it. And I still see the same thing. Buildings sitting empty, houses run down. When I was in high school, we used to get called trailer trash from the other teams. Because they drive by JC and they look over in Green Acres and see nothing but trailers and trash. I got that offensive. There come a golf course come in. No one wanted to buy lots at the golf course. You know why? Because they didn't want to drive through trash to go to the JC store, is what I was told. None of the lots sold forever. Why didn't those lots sell forever? Now they're selling because we got a shortage. But there was a reason why they wasn't selling, because no one wanted to come to Edinburgh, because Edinburgh was a trailer trash town. That's what they call us. So I had a vision. I did 2 houses a year and fix them up. I tried to target the worst one and try to beautify it and bring good citizens to the community. So yeah, I'm for this. But on the other end, there's a few things that I can't see that's going to happen unless we really are dedicated to it. So like Sarah Beth said, we need to get the town fixed up. We need to bring more people in to the community that's willing to help to contribute. Because if you look, a lot of houses in Edinburgh are rental houses. And it's always been like that since the war. But we got to bring in good community citizens. So it sounds like to me, you got to run out like they did in Denver, run out all the poor and bring in the wealth, because the wealth can pay the taxes and they'll keep up on their properties. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chris. I'm sure we're almost got the 40 minutes in, haven't we? Anyone else speak for it?
Yeah, about 6 minutes left.
Okay. Anyone else like to come up and speak for it? Okay, let's just hear the folks that want to speak against it, or so you just come up and give your name and.
You guys got 20 minutes for all of you guys.
Yeah.
So the comments, who else wants to speak? All the people in the police ought to ask is, just keep your motion sound, it's our own town. Let's take care of our own. We see this every day.
20 minutes, ain't enough.
20 minutes ain't enough, it's not my rule. I'm sorry.
Well, have
Maybe
to go,
expand
but
a
then go.
little bit in regards to how many people are here tonight, and the courtesy of the citizens who are concerned about it. I don't really feel like extending that maybe 10, 15 extra minutes would be that bad, so the people here.
Well, just remember this.
actually do have a chance to have something to
This
say.
will go before the town board, so they'll make the final decision.
Is Dustin still on the phone? Can he respond to that?
I know Dustin will say no, if it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes.
I don't think that can be changed.
No.
That's state, I think.
So just kind of keep your comments and your questions brief, and we'll go through as many as we can in 20 minutes.
I'll also ask the town council as well, the same question for you guys. We'll try to talk to the council about holding it in probably a bigger venue. So please, watch the town website for that, especially if it sounds like the majority of you would like to speak and be in on that. Probably what we'll try to do is ask the council to do it at the school, as we've done it in the past. It seems to work.
Right.
But if you guys want to, whoever wants to come up first, just your name, your address. We're ready.
Greg Simpson, 15892 North State Road 79. Okay, I'm not against all of this, but I am against some of this. You know, some that I'm against is what was highlighted in the paper of the threat of the fines. Somebody coming onto my property with not permission of mine and fishing for something. That's not happening at my place. That's, first of all, that's against your Fourth Amendment rights. I'm against that. You know, if they can figure out another way to come to your place and check something out, I'm good with that. You know, I'm good with having good, having new. Like Sarah Beth said, restoration of the old buildings downtown. You know, how many years has all of y'all been begging for that? You know, but all of it's not bad. But I don't feel all of this is good either. That's where I'm at with it.
All right, thank you, Ray.
Great.
All right, next person. I had a lot of hands up there.
My name's Austin Prater, 300 Shelby Avenue, Edinburgh. Couple of things I had is, one, I guess I'm not understanding how things work. I kind of don't understand something so big and so important, why it can't be voted on like a school referendum or something. The way it seems to me that this all falls on taxpayers. If that means everybody don't get a vote on it. That everything falls to the property owner. Everything falls to me. Nothing goes to the renter or the other people. So I don't understand why it couldn't be voted on.
Okay, thank you, Austin.
Doug Dillon, 607 Sunset Drive. I'll be real quick. I don't agree with this the way it's written. I think it should be taken back to the town people to come together with you guys and the city council to, come up with it together. That way there's, the blame is shared everywhere for the success. But, so I'm not for it as it's written.
Christina Salzman, 523 West Center Cross Street. Can't really say that I'm for it or against it. I guess I probably should have asked questions during the question portion, but I didn't know if it was just questions to him or questions to everybody. But, you know, the town does need to grow. I understand that. And it does need, there's improvements that need to be done from downtown all the way to, from sign to sign. There's improvements that need to be done. Some of the questions, well, one of the questions that I have, a lot of people throwing around the term HOA. Does that mean that there will be HOA fees? Will we all have to pay fees like an HOA?
No.
No. Okay. So that was one of my questions. Okay, so when you redo the zones and everything, what happens if a business or an agricultural or whatever, what if its zone changes? Will it be grandfathered in? If you already have a business here and it suddenly becomes just residential, will they then shut down their businesses? Or will they be able to be grandfathered in?
Go ahead and ask your question. I think I'm writing it down.
Okay, so that was something, you know, what happens with existing businesses, and especially small businesses? They can't necessarily afford to just shut down or suddenly upgrade within 60 days, 10 to 60 days. Not everybody has that kind of capital. Also, so I understand that there's ordinances, no matter what town you're in, there's ordinances, codes you have to live up to and everything. And from what I'm understanding is there's going to be a committee and an administrator that is the head of the committee. The administrator is the one that comes and knocks on the door and asks for an inspection, right? To inspect your structure or whatever to make sure that you're up to code. Okay, so who decides, who inspects to make sure that you're up to code? Okay, and how is that process? Do they just knock on your door and say, hey, I'd like to come in and inspect your house, I'd like to inspect your building? If it's considered a public risk, it says in the file that I read, it says if it's considered a public risk, then they can even send contractors to come and bring you up to code and send you the bill for it. You have to pay for it, or you get a lien put on the property. What if you can't afford it? Who decides if it's a public risk? And if this person's got time to decide that it's a public risk, are they asking the committee to vote on it? Then they also have time to ask me, the property owner, to bring it up to code. It shouldn't be that urgent. Does one person have that authority that he can just drive by your house and go, oh, that's in the way, it's blocking queue, tear it down? Right. And then send me a bill for it. Exactly. For whatever contractor he decides to choose. I mean, there's just a lot of questions on it. I can't say that I'm against it. There's a lot of questions on authority and who governs this committee and make sure that they stay in check with our rights as property owners to not have someone just knock on your door and tell you, hey, you have to do this $10,000 project for us. And I think, the other one was the boundaries. Where exactly are the boundaries? Is it within town limits? It says Edinburgh's corporate boundaries. So does that include like in the factories, go all the way to 65? What are the boundaries that this ordinance will be taking place in? Is it just the town, or does it go out to like our school district does or something? I think that was it.
Answer them all at one time.
Okay.
13 minutes left, guys.
Okay.
I can talk fast. Crystal Skirvin, my residence is 505 East Center Cross Street, Edinburgh, Indiana. My dad built that house. My mom lives on Main Cross Street. My family's owned that residence since in the 50s. So I'm very concerned about this. Yes, improvement is definitely needed. It always has been. We've always talked about upgrading Edinburgh or revitalizing it and all of that, which is great and wonderful. My issue today, and with people I've been talking to on the internet, people I've talked to outside of the internet, has been kind of everything that Christy was saying. Like, she's read it obviously very carefully, looked at the wording, looked at the terminology, and still has a lot of very, very important questions. Who's going to pay for this? How is it going to be enforced? And I don't even like that word enforce. And it was actually used in that document there. It's like enforcement of this is not really the way that I want my town to talk to me about my property. I mean, I am a resident of Edinburgh, but I also I'm a resident of my property as well. And so talk to me a little bit differently than enforcing something like that. And that was kind of my problem with it, is that it seemed like it was very fine and consequence heavy. Like, if you don't do it, here's what's going to happen. Not so much in explaining the zone changes, explaining what the past ordinances and current ordinances are. They're very hard to decipher so far. I'm still researching it, but it's hard to find those. So if you guys can direct me in the right place, I would love that. And I will study them very closely. I know ordinances are important, we have to have some of them, but the fine and the consequences part is just really eating at me. And please make the ordinances more well-known. Talk to me in a little bit of a different, less forceful language. And then, like, my whole honest, I just have to say it, I don't need an HOA. Edinburgh does not need an HOA. We need some standards. Yes, we need some improvements. But, I mean, even our presenter, no offense to you, use the words and terminology HOA. It's been thrown around since people have started talking about this. And that's not a real comfortable thing for our town. Especially, I mean, when we talk about those fines and, the situation, the economy is always terrible. People are always struggling, but really we are. So to throw a bunch of possible fines for our existing things is an issue that I think everyone probably has a concern with. And then the last thing, and I had presented this on Facebook today, was that how about going along with what Chris said, some grants and some funding and some things like that whenever you're talking about, well, we're going to fine you if this. Okay, but, Grandma Jane that can hardly get somebody to mow her yard for $20, how's she going to upgrade her fence? Or how is she going to upgrade her shed or her doghouse? Or, and then you're going to fine her? How about we help her if those are the things that you want to happen?
Next.
My name is Julie Smith. I live at 300 Shelby Avenue. I also own 610 Mayor Street, which is in Bartholomew County. My questions, Crystal addressed the HOA thing. And yeah, that's what everybody's throwing around, because when I read the article in the paper, after I found it, since I couldn't find it online, that's exactly what it's laid out. Because I unfortunately had to deal with researching HOAs, and I read that article in the paper, and that's exactly what it sounded like. Now, perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps I was dealing with the wrong kind of HOAs, because this was all up at Center Grove and places I don't want to live. I've lived in Edinburgh since I was 18 years old. My oldest child is 34. So I'm telling you right now that that's not going to fly with anybody here in this town. Now, it might with some, as Chris pointed out, push out the poor, get in the people who have money. Good luck. That's all I got to say. Good luck getting that done.
Okay.
Because I don't know what you think money is, but I don't know of anybody in this town that has money. Well, maybe one person. But I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to happen. Another thing that I have concerns about, as what was presented in the paper, the outline for like landscaping, or building on your property, improvements. Well, who decides what is improvements? You, I'm sorry, but you don't. I decide what I improve on my property. If I want to put flowers on my porch and along the road, I'm going to do it. Now, as long as they're not over 3 feet tall and obstructing view, according to the ordinance right now, that's perfect. And it also beautifies the town. Now, I get it. If somebody wants to plant Bradford pears along the street, yeah, I'd have a problem with that too. But that's another thing. But I mean, I just want to know, why do you think that it's okay to appoint a committee to tell us property owners what we can and cannot do on our properties, as long as it's not detrimental to life, limb, or pursuit of happiness? That's what I want to know.
Thank you, Joe. You're next.
Mine's quick. It's just a statement, and I'm very new to this town, moved here in December. The couple of things that.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Oh, sorry, Christy Ballard, 7590 East State Road 252, Edinburgh. Just a couple of cases that I've reviewed since I've been here, and because I live at one of them, verbal okays given and then revoked seems to be a common theme. So I'm just hoping that there's an easier process going forward to make changes to your property, because this gentleman here called and got approval. My homeowner where I live now called and got approval, then was told later, no, that these changes couldn't be made. But yet, where's the accountability on the person that gave the approval over the phone? So.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen. Who's next?
Jeff Alfrio, 7778 East State Road 252. I want to say that just kind of what they've said real quickly. As this was laid out, it was laid out under it as an HOA. And depending on how this is set up, like they talked about, if the committee that is set up for this has the authority to make these decisions, absolutely not. Anything that needs to be done, and like this HOA cannot have the authority to 4 or 5 years, 10 years down the road say, okay, now we need to start collecting funds for all of this stuff. You know, everything, all these changes need to be made. They need to be voted on. You know, no committee should be put in place of all these decisions. That's all I gotta say.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
My name's Harold Crowhorn. I live at 610 Freedom Circle. You know, they're talking about grants. Grants is great. But every one of you people know what grants is, or taxes. They just come back to bite you in the ass. I pay enough taxes. I pay enough taxes. That guy right there lives across the road over here on the other side of 31. He does anything he tells me every week what he does to keep his tax rate down, and he don't care about us. Yet he's sitting up there. I don't know. You know, you get all the grants you want, but you're going to grant this plumb out of business. I'd like to see all these buildings down here full of something. You've got too many people that say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. That's all I got to say. I mean, I pay plenty of taxes, brother. If you don't look at the courthouse, you think I don't.
Okay. You, next.
Anybody else? We have 4 minutes left.
My name is Amanda Dillon, 607 Sunset Drive. I have a very specific one. It's section 9.12, letter B, number 2. It says distractions. So it's talking about distractions in your yard. And if this is a distraction to people driving by, walking by, which makes absolutely no sense. So does that mean if people put Christmas lights out or Christmas things in their lawn, that's going to be a violation? That's my question.
Chris Link again. I have a couple things to say, or ask, why is this all brought on? And the other thing is I bet a handful or not more didn't even know about this meeting until today. Luckily, a few people put it on Facebook. Raise your hand if you just found out. So why is the true reason of this? Because, with me being a contractor in town, I see a couple things that happens, I feel like this is all happening because, before the building inspector guy couldn't come in and fishing for violations unless the neighbor or someone called and complained. But now it seems like we're out fishing for violations and looking for fees to try to, I guess, contribute to the shortage that we have here in town. So my other thought is that I found out with the building zones is any municipality can go above and beyond the code. Does anybody know that? Well, I found that out, and I just brought up a good conversation because Christy, I fixed her house. I bought that house back there 10 years ago, and I call it the Kevin Rubush code. I upgraded 100 amp service to a 200 amp service. Okay, I get it all done, and I hired a licensed electrician, and he come and wires that up just like he did the other 100 homes that he did in Columbus. Well, guess what? He wired it up with a 2-aught aluminum wire from the meter base to the panel. And you're allowed to do that, but not in Edinburgh, because any municipality can go above and beyond the code. So here in Edinburgh, if you don't know, and you're a licensed electrician, I could hire 10 licensed electricians to come and do a job. Unless Robert Overton tells them that he specifies that he wants a 2-aught copper wire, they're going to wire it up at 2-aught aluminum. Because you have two code books. You got a national code and you got a state code. But any municipality can go above and beyond the code, so they can make you do whatever they want. If they want you to turn the receptacles upside down, you can. Or if you want to add an extra GFI in your breaker panel, then you have to do it. So I understand there's a little bit where you're trying to go above and beyond the code, but is it more of a power authority, or is it more of just trying to, as they say, protect the future owner? So at the end of the day, I'm strictly by the books, just like they say we are here, strictly by the books. But when you got to go look in the book to find out what's right from wrong, and then just come back and say, well, we're a municipality, we can go above and beyond the code. I went through this 3 times, and I was just on a job doing a 2-car garage, and this happened. So the homeowner and the contractor are having a falling out mad because Mr. Overton come and told him that they had to have a copper wire in there that he didn't specify. And I'm not calling out Robert. I'm not calling out nobody. I'm just saying that my lawyer told me then that if that's what you guys want to do, you need to have it in black and white like you're trying to do now, that this is how you specify doing it. Don't cost people money, and let's not try to avoid into confrontation, because when that happens, when you come and find 3 fines or three violations, and you're trying to get done with the job and try to get done complete, and then he comes back to sign off, hopefully you're going to sign off on the final, and they find 3 more violations or 3 more things they want to fix. That's like carrying on, like that gets in your money. Time is money. So at the end of the day, we got to find a way we can work together, make it easier, where I feel like, honestly, that we come to this because everyone that has went and got a permit, the last 100 people that went and got a permit, has had a problem with building and zoning. And I'm speaking I'm just telling the honest. I'm just here to make things easier. I'm not trying to point things out or anything hard. I just honestly want to make Edinburgh great again, or great. That's it. What do you want? I mean, we don't need problems or confrontations with people calling because the inspector's doing this or they're not getting along. Just show them in black and white, real simple, and say, this is what I want done at the beginning, and we can be done.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
That concludes our hearing tonight on the people opposed, so that's for the board.
No, let the consultants
Give the
respond,
petitioner a chance to
answer questions,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
and Julie.
You know what? I can stand here if you don't mind. Yeah. No, I appreciate the questions and the comments that were raised here this evening. I see there's happy to have this opportunity to kind of clarify many of the things that you heard this evening. One of the things, let's see, I'll just go through the list that we got here. A lot of discussions on fines and trespass and so forth. I view this code, these things already exist in your current zoning ordinance and subdivision control, or they exist in the code. They exist in the town code.
Just to clarify, what was printed in the legal notice is what was a summary of the ordinance and the enforcement chapter. So I understand the heartburn and the concern of everyone, because if that's all you saw out of 240 pages, that would be very concerning. So that was, the legal ad was just the enforcement chapter. It contains the fines, it contains the enforcement options for the town. Those, legal counsel still has to direct my office on how those processes would be completed. So that's why the legal notice contains that information. There's a lot more information as you went over. So
Yes.
I'll let you go over the other.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk about the process. And the reason that is, again, the state law requires that legal notice to be written that way and to have all of the enforcement provisions there. That's, again, pushing for transparency. Right now, today, the way the ordinance is written, the existing ordinances and the existing statutes here in the town, is that you can find it for $2,500 a day. That's not how this town wants to operate. That's why we have it in that chapter on enforcement, a specific schedule for fines and things like that. When that comes to be, I will say that you have great thoughts of Julie being able to do lots of enforcement. It's just not how towns operate in the enforcement realm. So I guess let me kind of synthesize some things here. So there was concerns about coming onto my property, things like it. Part of the reason we're that explicit in chapter 8 is because that's what state law identifies and puts out there for setting up those boundaries to protect the owner and the town. The way that the enforcement element works, and part of the reason we're going, because right now, the town essentially can sue you and take you to court. And that's expensive and not productive. By putting in the process, and where having been in Julie's shoes before, having done land development, things of that nature, the tools that are in here for the enforcement, when it comes to that, is that it's for sending out a notice. Hey, here's a warning letter. This is a problem. As far as someone starts putting a lot of inoperable vehicles on their property, things of that nature, that's an issue. Or if there's some sort of violation that's happening. We see this often with abandoned buildings. Somebody's not maintaining a building that's not occupied. This is where that comes. I'll defer to Julie, but my experience has been towns handle enforcement on a reaction basis. If somebody calls something in, they don't have time to go out hunting for things. There's no one who's going to come and try and inspect your building or inspect your lot. So I'm just saying that's how that is. If there is a violation that needs to be addressed and there's been a warning and there's no action being taken, we see this with out of state property owners and things. That becomes an issue. Then that's why those provisions, where I see those provisions be used on the rare instance that they are used.
So write it in there for the out-of-state property owners.
What?
So write it in there for the out-of-state property owners. Because it sounds like you're just going to sue the residents without a judge involved. You said right now the city can sue residents. That's all they can do. But with this, they give you a couple warnings and then they just fine you for that. That's just suing people without judge involved.
Yeah, and there is, and in that process, and I would encourage you to not just read the legal notice, but read all of chapter 8 that talks about those in the ordinance. Chapter 8. It's on, I believe it's on the city's website.
Town of Edinburgh's website.
Yeah.
It should be on the top left-hand corner, and if you can't find it, in town hall or some other police department, I'll show you that.
No.
How do you
But-
get into the police department? I'm a little bit aggravated about that.
Okay.
It's marked as, I got one phone, one real quick with Chief. The front of the building is marked as safe place, and the doors are locked. I've got a real problem with that. And see me afterwards, we'll talk about it.
I got a question on what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, if you need to continue.
I was trying to address.
Well, it's just like what we were talking about as far as, someone having the authority to come in and do all these inspections and so forth. It was brought to me and it appeared to me as though that's what this whole thing, part of what this is doing, is to be able to appoint someone to that job.
No.
To be able to do that, and to go around
No.
and start collecting funds.
Yeah.
That's the way a lot of that was presented.
Yeah, and I can see the confusion there. Understand that in this sort of zoning, admittedly, gets a little confusing, the fact that 90% of it is dealing with future development. Someone comes to Julie and wants to put a gas station in or do some other type of business. That's when it goes through the process with the planning and building department. So I understand, in this ordinance, is dealing with land use and subdivision, property changes, property splits. It's not dealing with buildings. This isn't dealing with building codes, things of that nature. I don't, well, I don't know why if they were being told no, there would have to be a reason that it didn't comply with the ordinance, such as they're trying to build too close to the property line. I don't know where, I would have to have more than a hypothetical of why this is getting a no. So, Christina had asked about about what happens if the zoning changes from what the current use is. And looking at the zoning map and reviewing it with the steering committee, the members of the committee, and driving the committee, our goal is is the map online as well? I think the map's online as well. But look at that. Our goal is to put all the existing uses and things in the proper zoning district. I want everybody to be a legal conforming use. That is the goal of this. I've been one of the property owners that's been in the wrong district, and you're trying to do a mortgage or something to the bank, and they're giving you a hard time because, well, you're residential, why is this on commercial, and so forth. So everyone should be in the proper zoning district. That we took a lot of care to make sure that that is the case. And if someone is not in the proper zoning district, so let's say that it isn't, your grandfather. The technical term is a legal non-conforming use. You exist before the ordinance is in, that can continue to operate and so forth. So there was a concern about, are businesses going to have to be shut down or things of that nature? No. Everything that's here today can keep going. Again, this is because the zoning ordinance tends to be future oriented on the future uses that will happen on the site. Yes?
All right, my property is commercial.
Okay.
I'm adjacent to O'Reilly, JC store, and the gas station, but I'm residential.
Mm-hmm.
So with this UDO, would it change the zoning of my property out of?
I'd encourage you to look at the parcel to see what it is, because we're trying to put everything in the proper. That can be something to look at. Okay. Okay. There was a question about the boundaries. What are the areas that are covered by this ordinance? So you've got the incorporated town, the town boundaries, the incorporated boundaries, plus Edinburgh exercises planning authority for a 2-mile fringe, extraterritorial jurisdiction, essentially area outside of its boundaries. So it has planning and zoning say on areas that are expected to come into the town as the town grows. Oh, only, okay. And this is where I'll rely on you on the nuances of that.
Yeah, so in Gossip north and west of the town, because we have the joint district towards the mall area, and we work cooperatively with Bartholomew County, and then we do not have that jurisdiction east of 65. So we do not have jurisdiction in that direction.
So, I'm sorry, for clarification, so what about Howard and Pleasantview?
Hopefully we have zoning jurisdiction in that area.
So you don't have those over there? Huh.
Why is it not?
Is that in the city, I'm gonna go through Mount Airy, but we can't go through Mount Airy.
It's just the way the, agreements were made back years and years ago. Yeah.
So when you talk about that corridor, like his fence, there's a corridor now that you can't, is that 252, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, there's currently a highway corridor
There's
that's,
new rules for that corridor?
we've essentially continued that over with some important distinctions. And by that, one of these is that Julie can identify where things fit or don't fit. The point of the overlay or the corridor is those properties that front along the corridor and the influence. And if you're outside that, 'cause, again, you're dealing with a footage distance from the center line of the road, things of that nature. We now have as opposed to, as is today, you've got the discretion to say that parcel isn't fronting on the corridor or things of that. I don't know the specifics of your case, so I can't speak to that, but.
Since we live there, trying to build a building on it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we did reduce the dimension of what's on the corridor. It was 500 or 600 feet today. It's down to 250 feet.
And the ordinance that we have right now was adopted in 1993. So most of these items that we're discussing have been on the books since at least 1993. So the highway corridor.
Well, the highway's changing though, so I don't know how many work does it apply?
And that ordinance has been on the books since then.
Yeah.
So, and it's like 31 and 252.
Yeah, and the point of the corridor overlay is if you're coming in, you've got a vacant parcel, you're putting a new commercial center in there, that there's standards that apply to it that has a little bit higher level than if it's just a standard commercial area. Yes?
And even if you are within so many feet of this corridor, the buck don't stop there. You can move on to the state or the county or whatever, like when I was facing 31, when I went ahead and I shoved my building to the east to keep from going another step, to go get permission from somebody else to put my building on my property where I want it. Since it was within so many feet, and I face 79, my property didn't even touch 31. But it was still within so many feet of the center line of US 31, so I was within an ordinance that did not agree with the highway corridor on that. So, but just because they're within the corridor don't mean you can't still get permission.
Yeah. Exactly. And there was a question about, well, what qualifies as improvement, right? Again, the ordinance is looking at future development, things that would essentially require a building permit. That's what drives this. There were comments about like, oh, well, I want to plant some flowers. Great, go for it. I encourage you to do so. There's nothing, we want people to maintain their properties. We want that to happen. A zoning ordinance doesn't really affect any of the existing properties. Now, and I can't do anything about that because that's what state law requires as far as the legal notice. So it's unfortunate because I agree with you. It's not very conversational and it doesn't explain what's happening. That's why I'm not an attorney and I don't write like one.
I have a question.
Yes.
So everybody keeps talking about HOAs. Where does it say in there's an HOA for the town of Edinburgh? Because I didn't see it.
There is no HOA.
So I don't know where that rumor comes from. There's not going to be an HOA for the town of Edinburgh.
And I don't understand this. I've heard people reference a committee. I don't understand the committee. So I don't know where that comes from.
We have that now, Bristol.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just saying.
You know where the terminology is coming from, and it's not something that we're accepting or inviting of.
Okay,
That's
let's,
why people are here today.
come on, we already covered the HOA subject.
Yeah, no, I think I've hit the other parts.
That's it? All right.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I got a question. Say that a lot of these original ordinances were dating back to 1993, and this unified development ordinance, how many pages?
Yeah, probably about 243.
243, we spent 10 minutes lazing over it in the original presentation. I don't think that's a fair presentation.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I will say, yeah.
I think concerned that Lynette Brother Association president, and I know how all this starts, and how they start dictating how people can utilize their coffee. And then next thing you know, they're charging a monthly fee. And
There's no structure in this whatsoever. First of all, I'll take it as a compliment that we got the ordinance down to 243 pages where we are. We're currently over 300 pages, the way it's currently written, right?
You spent 10 minutes going over 300 pages and glossed over it, and then that is going even off, and that's no paragraph presentation.
Yeah. Okay. And
It's like a kangaroo court where you rubber stamp it, and no matter what anybody says, it's going to happen.
so,
All righty.
okay.
Thanks, sir.
Did you answer my question about an illegal notice 9.12?
Oh. Yeah, so that is dealing with distractions. You asked about Christmas. Christmas decorations, things like that are explicitly exempted from any of the requirements.
But just how it read in the legal notice, it's a distraction. Signs in your yard that might distract drivers or pedestrians. Like, who decides if it's a distraction?
The administrator of the code. Identifies that. Yeah, which is the planning director. And so an example of that would be, so you're looking for things that would cause a public hazard. So let's say you put a sign, a flashing sign in your front yard that has searchlights. They're going out into the street and into the eyes of people that are driving by in cars. You're essentially shining a flashlight in the eyes of somebody driving a car down the street. The town could determine that is a safety hazard, and that you shouldn't do that.
All right, Julie, you ready to wrap it up there?
All right, so for the plan commission members, as this is a text amendment, ordinance amendment, essentially you have 4 motion options tonight. You can send forward a recommendation to the town council. Those options are a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, no recommendation, or as with all cases, you have the option to continue this matter. So those are the options. If you would like to make a motion, I'm always happy to answer any additional questions that you may have for me tonight.
Any other questions? No. You would like to make a motion? I personally make the motion that we, no, not unfavorable, what was it? Favorable, unfavorable,
Or no recommendation.
no recommendation?
Or continuance.
Or continuance.
Why continue?
Just come back to us. It's going to keep coming back to us anyway.
I mean, they put a lot of work into this, just let the town board decide whether they want that.
The advantage of a continuance would be if you have items that you would want to make amendments to before it went to the council. Otherwise, it would go to the council as is with the sheet that HWC passed out tonight.
Julie, I have a question then for you. Some of the things that I went over with you yesterday.
They went to HWC and were those
But they're not on
included?
So that I understand, but there were things like the 5-day, you were checking to see if it was state.
Yeah,
within 10 days and stuff like that is not included in the sheet you passed out.
Yeah, so the question about 5 days, no, that is not a state law. So that is something that's set by the town.
I just think that was too short of a time. We discussed that.
Okay. Does the council want to make a favorable recommendation
Or a continuance.
or an unfavorable?
As they stated earlier,
It's up to their board, Crystal, please. It's up to their board, what the name is.
Or a continuance?
Remember we voted.
I don't think it's just continuance.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a motion that we just continue this until.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to continue it, so.
So Debbie made the motion and Bob seconded.
No, Ray did.
Ray seconded. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That seems to go well then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Mr. Sells, you did not ask for anyone who was against that?
Pardon?
Anyone opposed?
Anyone opposed?
Anyone opposed?
I thought we went aye. Everybody, opposed, anyone opposed? You, okay,
I am opposed because I was on the UDO committee for all those meetings.
I'm sorry, Debbie.
Stephanie, what are you opposed to? I'm sorry, I'm opposed to continuance because I, along with Chrissy, was at all of those meetings. And it's very difficult for me when I hear folks say they didn't know about it, the various meetings that we had to create this document. And I know that it was in the Courier continuously. I don't do the Facebook.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think he'll do it.
I think it's showing too.
You passed it.
That's you. You can get a motion up to it. They don't go away. And I don't like it. I don't like it. They come on the trouble.
We should let the town council sort that out.
One water?
Yes.
Talk to you like
Okay, so if you want it done, you need to stop in and see the girls and pay all that information. And we'll set the meter pit, and I'll come and see you tomorrow, so you can tell me where you want it at.
Peter, what is it normally?
It'll be, you know where my water main runs in your yard, it'll be right off of it. You want it more to the east of your house, because I'm assuming you're gonna have